Welcome to this episode of the Martial Truth Podcast, Don't Train with a Bully. Before we move forward, closing in on 17,000 subscribers. Appreciate you all. Thank you for all subscribing and members joining the channel. It's been great. Please click that like, share, subscribe button. Consider becoming a member. All right, we've got some interesting interviews coming up in the next couple of weeks. But today I thought I'd riff on a particular subject that's been bothering me a little bit. So let's talk about martial arts bullies. Oh, the first dojo I trained in Nishinru was run by a gentleman, no longer with us, okay? Initially seemed okay. But then as I was there longer and longer, I realized, again, you don't realize it initially because you're training in the martial arts and you have this idea that this is the way it is. Oh, this is the way you're supposed to be treated in a dojo. Okay. Luckily for me, I decided to go out and train in some other arts. And I got to observe other instructors and how they treated their students. And it's funny, the first dojo I went out in after that initial Ishinru dojo, which I was there for 10 years, 10 or 11 years, so it wasn't like I was there a long time. I was there a long time. The bullying got so bad at the end that I just had to leave. I was a police officer at that time, married, and I was like, I'm a full partner in this business. He's going to treat me like this? I don't think so. But anyway, the first dojo, other dojo I went to, there was a guy there who also liked to bully the students and hit them with a shinai, you know? And I was like, what is this all about, right? And then later on, a bunch of those instructors separated themselves and went off and did their own thing because they didn't like the way they were being treated. And I went with those guys, and it was a much, much nicer experience, all right? So what made me decide to hit on this subject was, one, some of my own personal experiences, but also some things I've seen recently. Read a story the other day of a jiu-jitsu instructor who broke a beginner student neck in the dojo. I saw the video. It's horrendous. You can find it, I'm sure, on YouTube, X, wherever you want to go check. It's horrendous, all right? The guy was a beginner, virtually no training. The jiu-jitsu instructor does a technique on him that he should have never done, and it's a very tough video to watch, very tough, okay? Initially, the person was awarded $40-something million. They appealed it. The award was upheld. Now, with interest, it's over $50 million, okay? The guy was a quadriplegic. I don't know if he's gotten some use back in his extremities, but quadriplegic, neck down, no feeling when this happens, okay? It's brutal. I look at it and I say, that should never happen. Why shouldn't it happen? It shouldn't happen because you're supposed to be a qualified instructor. And why are you doing this type of technique that this person you're doing it to has no idea how to handle it, how to go with it, how to not get hurt, all right, how to protect himself. And then the nickname of this particular instructor that injures this person and breaks his neck is Sinister. Okay. So again, let me ask you a question. You injure someone in the dojo severely, and now you have to testify. And now that person's attorney says, oh, by the way, what do they call you in the dojo? Oh, they call me Sinister. Oh, yeah, that's a good look for a jury. That's a real good look. Again, it was a MMA school, mixed martial arts school, Brazilian, whatever it was. It was one of those types of schools. And the problem with a lot of those schools is it's just about winning. You go out on the mat with your fellow training partner, and you're trying to beat each other. And that's all you're interested in. You're interested in defeating each other. And you get that a lot. Anytime where you have a competitive action like that, in a karate school where they do a lot of sparring, you're going to have that. The guy maybe catches you with one night. You're not happy about that. You say to yourself, okay, the next time I'm facing him, I'm going to make sure I get him back. These become problems, okay? Instead of the training be one of, we're working here to achieve the same goal, which is to be able to defeat the people that are going to try to harm us for real when we're in the parking lot or when someone breaks into our house or attacks one of our loved ones, right? That's what we're supposed to be training to fight. So I saw that video, and it didn't sit well with me, and it made me start thinking about this topic. Then I saw another video of two guys again in an MMA school, I guess, or something, and the one guy jokingly shoved the guy, and the other guy knocks him to the ground, puts him in a choke, and chokes him out. And now he's starting to revive the guy, smacking him in the face, and the guy's not coming to. And I literally thought to myself, this guy has so much disregard for the fellow people in the dojo that he thinks it's okay to do this to someone. Okay? Don't train with a bully. If you're training in a school where the instructor is a bully, it's a problem. Okay, you need to run as fast as you can. You can't say to yourself, well, I'm going to stick it out because I really want to learn this martial art. No. Go learn another martial art. Because I'm telling you, you're going to leave. In my situation, I kept being told I couldn't do things. I'm a grown man in my 20s. I'm being told, oh, you can't train in other martial arts. You can only train here. No, that's not going to happen. Okay. Didn't like shirts I wore. Didn't like hats I wore. All right. What does that have to do with anything? All right. I'm teaching the bulk of the classes. All right. Then he'd come out on the floor, and the rare occasion where he actually put a gi on. All right. And then he'd come out on the floor, and I'd be demonstrating with him. So I'd be stepping in and throwing a punch. And what am I doing? I throw a punch. I stand there. He demonstrates the technique. Well, he's laying into me. He's kicking me, punching me. He's hitting me hard, right? But I'm young. I take it, right? But I'm thinking to myself, this is bullshit. Like, okay, I'm just standing here and you're hitting me, right? And I'll never forget, one of the older black belts was sitting on the side, and after he did one of these things where he, hit me a bunch of times and stepped off the floor, the older black belt who knew him a long time said, hey, Dennis, you think you'd be able to do that to Mike if he didn't let you? And I'll never forget the look on Dennis's face. And I knew right then and there that a seed had been planted. So it kept getting worse and worse. I was a full partner in the business, bullying me, would bully other people. I mean, he was a bully, all right? I know years before, he had bullied somebody in Ishinru to remove them as their vice president and replace them with who? Oh, with him. I watched him try to bully the president of the All Japan Budo Federation, Masafumi Suzuki, in his living room. I was sitting right there. I watched him try to bully him, but Suzuki wasn't having it. So, as now I was a little older. I was in my 20s. Again, already a police officer. I came to the realization that this guy wasn't what he was claiming to be. And he was a bully, and he liked to bully people. Bullied the other black belts. Oh, you have to get in line. You have to be with what I say. You can't take Mike's side on anything, right? Meanwhile, those same black belts are coming to me behind his back saying, we don't understand what his problem is with you. We don't understand. Well, then why don't you say anything? Right, because they're scared, right? They don't want to say anything. They don't want to get involved in it, all right? Same thing, I come back from Okinawa. I call it, at the time, the senior Ishinru sensei in our association, and I ask him if he'd like to come in to do a seminar at our dojo. Well, Mike, I'd like to, but I'm afraid of what Dennis will say about me. You're ninth dan. You're afraid what this guy's going to say about you? Well, yeah, I think he'll say bad things about me. I really don't want to deal with that. I just said to him, okay, sensei, no problem, but just let's be clear, long after you're gone, I'll still be here, okay? And that's the sad fact. He's gone, and I'm still here, and the other guy's gone too, right? So, again, afraid of the bully. After I left the bully took the next 7 years to try to completely destroy my life. And I've mentioned it in a few other podcasts, but I'll mention it again. Everything from taking ads out in my local paper where I had my dojo saying I was not a legitimate martial artist, to putting flyers on the cars all over in my neighborhood. Of course, they always did this at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Posted flyers on all the businesses, taped them on the window. all the tough guys. The tough guys coming out at 3 o'clock in the morning when no one's around. And they're skulking around like little rats, posting these things on the window, right? Then, trying to blackball me in Japan. Well, we see how that all worked out, right? We see how it all worked out. It just made me work that much harder to succeed. So in one respect, I'm happy that he tried to bully me, because there's only one way you deal with a bully, and that's you go right back at him. You let him know that you're not going to put up with it, right? And this went on for years and years, including him trying to get me in trouble at work, my police department job. Like I said, blackballing me with certain people in Japan, causing me problems within the Ishinru community, and basically everything boomeranged on him. Everything boomeranged back on him. And what finally stopped it was I was invited to a meeting at that dojo, the dojo that I helped build, the dojo that I designed the whole interior for, okay, by the headmaster of jiu-jitsu. And when I got there, I picked the chair up and I went and put it right next to Dennis. I sat right next to him in arm's reach, and I leaned over and said, "How you doing, Dennis? Okay, you've done all this stuff all these years. Well, now I'm here. I'm in the basement of your dojo. What are you going to do?" And what did he do? He didn't do anything, because he's a bully. All right? So, you feel like you're being bullied by your instructor, you need to leave that dojo. Simple as that. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about the guys giving you a hard time to push you to get better, correcting your technique. I'm talking about where it's a constant, he's knocking you, he's being crazy critical, maybe calling you names, physically abusing you, which we see plenty of that in the martial arts, okay? You need to get out of there as quick as possible. It's not going to end well. If you think, oh, he'll change, he'll never change, okay? Scorpion and the Frog. He's not going to change, all right? I even saw a video not too long ago of someone that does one of the martial arts I do. And they threw somebody on a surface that was probably too hard to do this throw on a guy who didn't know how to fall. And I watched the guy's neck whiplash. And I said to myself, my initial response when I looked at the video was, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. But then the other thing is, I wasn't there. I don't know. Maybe he's showing off. Maybe he's, I'm going to show them how tough I am. I'm going to show them how strong I am. Okay. What are you proving? What are you proving? It's incredibly important that the training environment should be enjoyable. It should be enjoyable. If you're getting out of your car and you're dreading what's going to happen that night in class, why are you there? Why are you still going to that place? Leave. When I started, there weren't a lot of martial arts schools. Now, they're everywhere. There's a million different ways to train in martial arts. I mean, you've got, obviously, dojo, physical spaces you can go train in. You've got Zoom. I mean, there's a million ways you can receive quality instruction from people that actually are nice, all right? I don't understand the instructor that feels like he has to bully students. I mean, again, on one level, I understand it because he has low self-worth. He doesn't feel that good about himself. So what he's going to do is he's going to make other people's lives miserable. And like my wife once said, you have to work hard at being an asshole. You do the right thing by people. You don't have to even think about it. You just do it. Do what's right. All right. If you're one of those instructors that likes to crank the joint lock a little harder, likes to lay into the student a little bit with the punch or kick, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I don't want to hear, oh, well, I want to toughen them up. Okay, yeah, okay. And what about can they hit you like that? Are you good with them hitting you like that? I mean, if you're at a dojo where you're hitting each other all the time and that floats your boat, knock yourself out. But if you're in a dojo where the instructor's laying into people pretty hard and when he's cranking a joint lock on it, the guy's tapping and he's still cranking it. Okay, it's probably time to go again. Now, 47 years in the martial arts. Have I hurt a training partner? Absolutely. Has a training partner hurt me? Absolutely. Okay? Absolutely. It happens, all right? We're not playing tiddlywinks. We're doing martial arts. You go out, you play tennis, you're going to roll an ankle. You're going to fall. You're going to maybe hurt your knee, okay? You're going to get tennis elbow maybe. Anything you do physical, there's going to be mistakes made. I've made mistakes. Plenty of people have made mistakes on me. The one teenager I trained here a couple of weeks ago, we're doing Kobudo. He hit me twice with the bow in the span of about 2 minutes. Both times I saw his life flash before his eyes. The kid got scared to death, and I just said to him, relax. You didn't hurt me. Relax. It's Kobudo. Guess what? Every once in a while, you're going to get hit with a weapon. Mistakes happen, okay? Hopefully, you have enough control where you don't cause serious damage. So, in my now 45 years of teaching, have we had injuries in the dojo? Absolutely. But in jiu-jitsu, which I'm teaching over 40 years, what's the worst injury we had? I'd say the worst injury we've probably had is one of the guys who still trains with me had major shoulder issues. His shoulders would just dislocate. So his shoulder dislocated a couple of times. Popped back in, he was fine. We've had people break toes in jiu-jitsu. How they do that, believe it or not, stepping onto the mat. And the toe slams into the edge of the mat, breaks a toe. We've had people break fingers a couple of times on rollouts. The finger, when they put the hand down, they didn't put the fingers right, a finger broke. In Kobudo, we've had people get a broken finger. I think that's probably the worst injury. I'll tell you the worst injury. The worst injury I did to myself. I cut myself with a kama over 30 years ago. Over 10 stitches in my left leg. So, like they say, shit happens, okay? Karate, have we had injuries? Yeah, has someone gotten a broken rib in karate? I'm trying to think in my dojo. I can't remember one, maybe. Other injuries? Yeah, have people maybe done a joint lock too hard, not realized it, or too fast? Yeah, these things happen, but they're unintentional, and normally the person that does it is like besides themselves. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I don't know how this happened. So mistakes are going to happen. There's going to be some injuries. But if the instructor is using you to demonstrate and he's laying into you pretty hard, my question is why? Like why? And if he's cranking that joint lock and he's still cranking it, you're tapping, he's cranking, and he's laughing or thinking it's funny, why? So for a long time, over 30 years, I trained in Shindo Musuru Jiu-Jitsu. So I went to Japan to train with a senior Japanese instructor who was the best Jodo practitioner I'd ever seen. The guy was amazing with a Jo in his hand. But also, let's just say he didn't treat the students well. He actually said to me one time, he said, right now, Mike, you have 10 Jodo students. In 10 years, I expect you to have 100 because you have good Jodo and people like you. This is exactly what he said to me. He says, I have good Jodo, but people don't like me so much. Okay, well, if you know that, how about you correct yourself? So I watch him berate students in the dojo, like screaming at them like a maniac. And you could see some people were really affected by it. So we get there, and it's me and one of my senior guys, who's also a cop, right? And he starts screaming at us. And we start smirking and kind of laughing a little bit, which enrages them even more. And we're just like looking at him like, what are you going to do? Like, okay, this is one of the arts we do. We do other arts. Like, you think we're afraid of you? We're not afraid of you. Who are you kidding, right? So a few of the senior Japanese students took us on the side and go, when Concho yells at you, you guys just smile. Like, aren't you afraid? I go, afraid of what? What's he going to do? He's not going to do anything, right? So then one time I watched him pair off with a guy and do a set of kata. And he kept going off script on the guy. And he kept throwing the guy with joint locks and throws. he hit the guy with the Joe bun, like hard, like the guy was getting hurt. And I kept, and then he kept looking at me like he'd do a joint lock and he'd go, so sui shitsuru, because he knew I studied jiu-jitsu, right? And I'm looking at him like, why is he beating this guy like this? And to this day, I don't know why he did it. But again, he was a bully. And eventually I recognized that. And I was like, okay, yeah, he's a great practitioner of the Joe, but he's a bully and he treats people like shit. I'm out. That's it. I'm out. Okay. Again, you find teachers that treat you well. You find teachers that you feel you can learn something from, but the way they present it and the way they teach it is in a nice way. Now, again, do teachers sometimes have to be hard? Of course, sometimes teachers have to be hard. Do teachers sometimes have to hit somebody? Of course, teachers sometimes have to hit somebody, all right? You get someone in the dojo who maybe likes to play a little rough with people. You got to send them a message, that kind of actions, that kind of behavior is not going to be accepted, okay? Again, 47 years, have I seen that? Seen it plenty, all right? It's very important as instructors, we treat people the way we want to be treated. And the best thing about my early experiences with Dennis was that, yeah, it was a bad experience, but that bad experience taught me something. It taught me, remember how he treated you and how you felt, and make sure you don't treat people that way. And when I got back from Okinawa the first time and Master Shimabuku gave me all this advice, the dojo goes as the sensei is. If the sensei doesn't drink too much or eat too much and stays in good shape, if the sensei leads by example by leading the class and doing the stuff with the class, the students will stay with him. If the sensei only talks a big game and is fat and drinks and eats too much and doesn't train and just yells and barks, the students are going to leave. Okay. So, was I the only person that eventually left Dennis? No. Most of them left Dennis. Most of them, right? And again, you can only put up with being treated a certain way for so long before something has to give. So, if you're in that environment, get out. There's plenty of martial arts schools. I'll just leave you with this little tidbit. So I recently started training in a new martial art, and I was told to meet the group in a park. That's where they train. And I drove there, and driving there, I don't know what to expect. I mean, are they going to be nice? Am I going to get out of the car and I'm going to be dealing with, frankly, people I don't want anything to do with? And again, it was great. I went there. Everyone was nice, helping each other. No, boy, I'm going to show this guy what I can do. No, it was just, good training, okay? And, I really enjoyed it. And anytime I go someplace, like the Sugino Dojo, same thing in Kawasaki, an amazing place. I mean, they help you. They want you to get better. They want you to learn. That's the way it should be. You come to my dojo, my job is to help you to get better, to make you want to learn, to make you want to learn more, right? Now, of course, do I have to kick you in the ass sometimes? Of course. Do I have to get kicked in the ass sometimes? Of course, right? But it's important. As instructors, don't do techniques on people that they're not prepared to handle. That's a mark of a bad instructor. If he's slamming people around that don't know how to take it, that's dangerous. Walk away. It's not the guy you want to train with. If you're an instructor and you're doing this, knock it off. Okay? Grow up. You want to be a tough guy? I tell people all the time, in martial arts. Well, then you know what? Become a police officer. Go out, try using your stuff for real on people that are really trying to kill you. Let's see how you do. But the thing is, most people don't do that. They're not willing to do that, all right? They'd rather just beat up their students in the dojo. So again, if you're training with a bully, walk away. Why train with a bully? Hope you've enjoyed this one. Just a subject I felt I wanted to talk about. I'm going to have another one coming up in a few weeks that I want to talk about. A little bit different, but I got a couple of very cool interviews coming up. I'm interviewing Andreas Quast again on Saturday, so that'll probably be next week. And then next week, I'm interviewing Andre Tippett, former pro football player with the New England Patriots and senior Wichiru karate practitioner. So that should be really good. All right. So hope you enjoyed it. Please click that like, share, and subscribe button. Consider becoming a monthly member. All right. There's a lot of videos up there you people haven't seen. I'm constantly putting more stuff up. I'll be in New York next month again for the 4 days of seminars. You can contact James Waller. You can find it on Facebook. All right. The event. Okay. And please don't forget, I'm attending that seminar that Walt Young's putting together with the Ufuchikuden Kobujitsu people in October in Virginia. Again, I'll put that blast out again for the subscribers and the YouTube channel. I'll put it out on Facebook again. You know, we're trying to get enough people so we can pull this thing off. If you're planning on going, please reach out to Walt. Let him know. All right? Let him know. I've got me and 2 of my guys are going. All right? So we're hoping that we can do this, that we get enough people that we can at least afford to bring them here. All right? No one's making money on this thing. Believe me when I tell you. Okay? All right, again, appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next podcast. Take care.